with voter fraud? And is this something that is new, or is it something that's just been forever and we just don't know about it? Those are loaded questions there, aren't they?
Well, Acorn got swept under the table because Obama won.
Yes.
If he had lost, it might have been a different story.
Right.
But don't feel bad. You'll get another chance. They're back at it under different guys.
Under a different name. Mm-hmm. What's their name now?
Well, they've got several names, and I'm sorry I'm not up to date on their latest one, but they go by the National Law Coordination Committee and all kinds of things like that. You can rest assured. You know what happens on the month of October? The federal government departments all dump out their monies so that they don't have money left over in the budget because the budget year ends, October 31st.
And if they don't, then they don't get that allocated for next year.
Correct. So, which is no business would operate that way today, but the government does.
Yeah, they have for years.
Places in the country where this is condoned. An interesting thing, I had an interview earlier today, and then someone called into me and said, yeah, but you know who the biggest beneficiaries are? Black churches. And I looked at him and said, that's kind of a strong statement. And he said, no, it's true. If you look at the where the money's come in, there's always a surge around election time in various churches around the country. And I hadn't realized that. So what does that have to do with voter fraud? Well, voter fraud is when you organize people to vote a certain way, whether they're legally voters or not. And what we've had, as you know, various court decisions in the last couple of months, which in effect throws away most of the safeguards. You could register without a license in this country, but you can't register in a hotel without a license.
Right, and I've never understood that. I'm like, isn't that our identification? I mean, we either have to have a license or we have to have like a Social Security card or something. We used to do, and now, you don't really have to have that. And with all the illegal immigrants in our country, that seems to be just an open door invitation to come and vote because we can't really track you.
Well, that's true, and also in my town, which is 51% Korean, when you go to the polls, there's Korean-speaking people to direct you at the polls of how to vote.
Are they citizens of the U.S.?
Well, more likely, they're citizens of both countries.
Yes,
it's interesting.
Well, they have that dual citizenship, then they have a right to vote. But if they don't, then know.
Who's to know the difference that it's one person or another?
Right.
You remember the old story about a man with a full beard could vote 4 different times. When they talk about voter fraud, he could walk in with a full beard, go out and get shaved, come in with a half beard. But however, to turn the question around, if I may, we've been doing some checking and polling, and do you know there were 2 million in the period from last September through this May, 2 million. Mostly men over the age of 30 registered for the first time in the United States across all the countries, all the states. If you can imagine that. Now, what does that tell you? Something's galvanizing them, and I don't think it was Hillary Clinton. And it's not voter fraud, but it's a very subtle campaign. Voter fraud is going to be with us. It's estimated that 7% of the ballots cast this fall will be illegal or have some flaw in them. Imagine that, 7%.
And so, if there's no regulations, if there's no, provisions in place for any kind of check or any kind of identification process, then do we really have any? Do we have any choice? I mean, I don't know how we can defeat something like that.
Well, my view is we shouldn't, because I believe it all evens out at the end. Despite what Donald Trump wants to say about stealing an election, most cases, as Speaker of the House McCormick said, all politics are local. And I think where you'll find Democrats doing it, I think you will in various places find Republicans doing it.
Oh, I believe it happens across the board. Yes.
So when all is said and done, and by the way, when they talk about how the one who gets out the best turnout wins, they weren't kidding. But sometimes you have to realize that they're also turning out the illegals.
Well,
but in the end, when all is said and done, the results usually reflect what the electorate want. Perhaps the only one, I use two examples. I remember back to the 1960 election, clearly Illinois was stolen from Richard Nixon, and clearly he could have made a lot of stink about it, and perhaps in Kansas City is generally credited with making him a senator, which eventually made him a vice president and then president. So you can argue the system, the fraud, but in the end it got the country what it needed, a good, strong president. So,
but that doesn't make fraud right.
I'm sorry?
That doesn't make fraud right.
No, it doesn't. But we seem to be more and more... I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm saying that the fraud that you're going to see in this election will be more in the inner cities. It will be more made of in the black and Hispanic communities, because the Obama administration has made it a point to liberalize the voter registration requirements, and nothing is really needed now but to walk into a booth.
Right.
And there's no question. I mean, when Donald Trump talks about that, he's not wrong. But I don't think the election will turn on that fraud. It will turn more on how he can get out his constituency, which, by the way, I think is much deeper than the polls are giving him at the moment.
Well, I mean, voter fraud is just, to me, that's an egregious act. I feel like, I feel like it's criminal and it should be treated as such. Can you stick around with us for a few minutes?
Of course.
All right, we'll be back, guys. Don't go away. Donna Mazzella.
WFIA, The Spirit.
On August 19th,
my family, they deserve justice.
What is your name?
It's spectacular, compelling, and stunning.
Win the race, win our freedom.
Should have killed me. I will.
Stand and fight, brother!
Ben-Hur, rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13. In theaters, Real D 3D and IMAX 3D, August 19th.
I know that you've been hearing me talk about this Better by Design. Remember them? Oh, yes, you do. Of course you do. And if you haven't heard of them, well, you should. Well, why should you? Because the building market is cranking up. Have you noticed that? And you may be, and I would like to be, building your dream home, but you should never trust that to just anyone. So I'm going to tell you again about Better by Design and why you should trust my friend Bob Leonard, because Bob has been designing homes for almost 20 years. I don't want to give him too much here, but almost 20 years. And every builder that he has been associated with, and it's over 100, love him. They have never had a plan that failed. And when you're talking budget, that means common sense, right? So you give my friend Bob Leonard a call, 502-742-2748. That's 741-2748. Whether you're building, remodeling, renovating. You can't go wrong with Bob Leonard.
Do you have a family member who's getting older and can no longer be safely left alone? With Visiting Angels America's Choice in Senior Home Care, your parents and older family members can continue living at home and not have to move into a nursing home. Experienced, compassionate caregivers provide assistance in hygiene, meal preparation, and light housework up to 24 hours per day at affordable rates. To restore your family's peace of mind, call Visiting Angels toll-free today at 877-374-LIVE or at visitingangels.com.
Babies are being saved in Louisville thanks to your support of a Women's Choice Resource Center and Nicole's Place. Continue that support and join us for our annual benefit event on Wednesday, September 28th at the Louisville Marriott downtown. A Women's Choice benefit event with featured speaker Dr. David Platt, president of the International Mission Board and author of the best-selling book Radical. Tickets are $100 per person. Get your ticket at awclifesavers.org or call 5.
In a fast-paced world, you want more than just facts. You want insight on the news that's shaping the world around you. Get it from Bill Bennett, Mike Gallagher, Dennis Prager, Michael Medved, and me. I'm your host each week on the townhall.com Weekend Journal. Give us an hour. We'll give you all the week's events from a perspective.
You can have been dead. I know that they've resurrected these names at least, and these people that have been in the grave for years come back and vote. How does that happen?
It's the way of the world. I know you get upset about it, but the democracy. What did Winston Churchill say? Democracy is the worst form of government there is. But if anything, if scholars who are smarter than me have said, over the last 15 or 20 years, it's actually gotten less effective in swaying elections. What it is more effective in swaying, believe it or not, are in state elections. The more local they are, the more impactful they can be. I know that that's intuitive, but it also happens to be the case. So we've got to look at it and say, is it enough to tip the balance of this election? I don't think it will. I think it will make it closer in some states, but as the figure is, 7%, some people say that's a lot, but that's on both sides. And when everything else is said and done, the main problem is the fact that most Americans do not vote. Don't forget, we're only in the 60 percentile.
Well, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm.
You want to.
It is supposed to be governing these kinds of things. Of course, it's a federal agency, and but what do they do? I guess that these kinds of things are hard to detect, so if you can't detect them, if you can't run them down, then I guess how do you know? But I would just suspect that there are agencies, and I'm not sure. You were talking about, that monies are going to be dispensed at the, before the fiscal year ends, and but I suspect that some of these voting fraud organizations probably get federal monies to even conduct their activities. Now, I don't have any concrete evidence of that, but I just noting the way that our federal government seems to dispense our money at willy-nilly, they'll spend billions of dollars on our deficit.
Well, you make fraud less rewarding.
Noticeable, right? Less noticeable, sure. But when people have this mentality that they do to in this election, that we don't really have a candidate that we want to vote for, and they stay at home. It's the same way that happened last election, and so they stayed home, and that's kind of the mentality that swayed us from doing what is right. And
into eternal washing. And one of the things
let's go to a break, and we'll come back and we'll let you finish this thought, because I want to hear what you have to say, because I want to know what we can do about this. We'll be back. Don't go away. If you have a question, 571-2428.
WFIA, The Spirit.
Congratulations, Louisville. This is Steve Arterburn, and for 50 years you've been blessed with a radio station in your community that has helped spread the good news of the gospel and help bring new followers to Jesus Christ. It's an outstanding achievement, and we're proud to be a part of WFIA's past, present, and future. From all of us at New Life Ministries, happy anniversary. And join me weekdays at 1 o'clock for New Life Live right here on WFIA, The Spirit.
Compassionate, experienced, respected. Comprehensive Foot and Ankle Centers and Doctors Chris Hubbard and Timothy Hanna understand that your feet are the foundation for taking your body where you need to go. So don't take foot pain lightly. From mild to this can get you back on your feet again. Fracture Care, Comprehensive Foot and Ankle, a call at 797-3338. That's 797-3338. Office is located in...
Find a 35-year-old man in excellent health, a $500,000 policy for under $19 a month. Life insurance through work is not enough. Let SelectQuote help you cover the gap. Call 1-800-723-5220. That's 1-800-723-5220. Or get started at SelectQuote.com. 1-800-723-5220. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Who's there?
Falling off.
Falling off who?
Falling off Pain Patch.
What?
Don't be fooled by the knock-knocks. Get the relief you deserve with Blue Emu's Lidocare Pain Relief Patches. Our narcotic-free, maximum-strength adhesion formula with dry technology won't have you worrying about a corny knock-knock joke anymore.
Don, it did happen in Chicago, didn't it? Where, they were using bogus names and people that had died, and it's probably happened in every state. But there was kind of
if what I've been told is true. So you have all of this going on, and eternal vigilance is the price of freedom, and that means if you see fraud, report it.
But is it if we report it, is anything going to happen? Because, you were just telling us that, we should go in and sit in one of the hearings and it would just blow our minds. So what happens at a hearing that would make us angry? Are the wheels just turning and nothing happens in justice?
Well, don't forget the burden of proof. You must prove each individual claim. That alone is a high hurdle.
It's a high hurdle, I understand.
Okay, so you're going through... voter A, voter B, voter C, and you're just sitting there listening. And how do you verify home addresses? How do you verify? In my town, we still do it. I come in, there's a photostat of my signature in this big book, and they look it up, and they for some reason they ask my wife for her license, but for me, they never ask. It's catch as catch can. And that happens all over the country. I've been in polling places around this country at different times, watching the process. We went through that horrendous thing almost 14 years ago with the Chads in Florida. So all of this tells me that it's a human process. It's going to have faults, but as long as we try to make the system as equal as possible, and don't forget, we're also by state. It's easier in some states to vote than it is in others. Some states make it easier. One of the most frauds is mail-in. The local people here go to the senior citizens, and they take every ballot, and they help the senior citizen fill it out. And you can rest assured the city government does very well at those polls.
They're not. Oh, sure they do. But so well,
and that poll results. I've seen it happen.
For us to even think that could government, that seems to be a little realize. There's a lot of people here, and I know it's a massive burden, but for some reason it feels like this is an important thing. This is something that's really critical in our structure, very fundamental for the running of our country, and it seems like something this important should be given a little bit more detail. That's just my thoughts, but. You know,
well,
who am I? I should be president.
I'll say two things to that.
Yes.
Would you like more government control?
No.
No. So, we have to balance it. Unfortunately, we're balancing it towards far more control than we want.
Right. But, Don, if our government would enforce some of the laws that are on the books already, I would like that a lot. I would like that a lot. We'd have less immigration problem right now. We would not be in a mess immigration-wise if they would enforce it. For convenience sake, I think. And it's for benefits and rewards of, the particular party or whatever. But, and I know that there's far more to it than, what I'm saying. But my goodness, if we could just get our government to enforce the laws and to respect, authority, and we might get somewhere in this country again. We might get back on track. That would be really, I think, profound.
I couldn't agree with you more.
But
you hit it right on the nose.
Well, Don, we really appreciate you, and you keep watch for us. And if you know of anything that I need to be aware of, you know how to get in touch with me.
Well, I definitely will, and thank you for having me.
God bless you for all you do out there. All right, it's been a delight. All right, guys, we'll come back and we will close out this final hour of Just Ask Joyce after this short break. Pray that you were blessed. We're kind of enlightened, almost. We kind of know the same thing. Nothing's going to ever change, is it? Not with that. We'll be back.
WFIA, The Spirit.
Imagine a vacation specifically designed for your growth and enrichment, along with 5-star accommodations, beautiful scenery, historic sites, and a community of people committed to you having a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Join us this fall on a 15-day all-inclusive Mediterranean cruise with Pastor Alistair Begg and visit thrilling stops in Naples, Jerusalem, Rome, and more. It's the Footsteps of the Apostles Mediterranean Cruise. Come and experience sites like the Sistine Chapel, the historic Western Wall in Jerusalem, and the beauty of the Isle of Santorini, all during one trip with like-minded travelers. Register today to sail the pristine Mediterranean waters and luxurious accommodations, and follow in the footsteps of the apostles to Athens and Ephesus. With special guests and resident teaching Pastor Alistair Begg, this cruise is sure to be inspiring and refreshing. The Footsteps of the Apostles Mediterranean Cruise is happening September 22nd to October 9th. To register, visit
Union. It's like straight A's for your money.
This TV is now on WKYI TV. This is
I had the chance to talk with Don Mazzella about the voter fraud. I thought I would, because I thought maybe I would learn something, and and I did. I mean, he was very informative, but it's just another source of frustration for us, isn't it? Because we know it's not going to change. It happens every year. It happens on both sides of the fence. It's pretty crazy, I think, but. I don't know. There are some things that I believe that we won't get answers for on this side of the river, if you understand what not the Ohio River, but on this side of life has that. And, but God knows all the answers. But I will tell you this. I believe that we are to be the salt and the light of the world. So you know what, guys? It just kind of tells me there are some wicked people in the world. There are some evil people. There are those who are going to be reigned and ruled by the enemy. There are those who will do anything it takes, whether it is in compliance with the Lord's instructions or not, anything it takes to get ahead in this world. Like this world is going to offer them one stinking thing. It's not really, really matters. That is the impact that we should be leaving behind for everyone. And we can do that. And, I can tell you, I can't even think of dishonest things that most people do. It's, it's like, it's unfathomable to me that I would even entertain something dishonest like voter fraud to start with. But we are surrounded by people who do entertain such thoughts of evil all the time. And so that's why we are always to be ready. We are always to be alert, vigilant for our Lord. And, because the enemy is there. He seeks to devour us. and to frustrate us and to irritate the wadding out of us. It's a good old Southern phrase. You just irritate the wad out of me. That's what my mama used to tell me all the time. And, we're not to be irritated to the point where, and to share our voice for things that are right all the time. And I think that's part of our flavor, is part of our light. And, as long as we are doing it as God says it should be done. And, that's with kindness and compassion and, but firmness. Jesus was the same way. He didn't mince words, did he? He spoke just how his Father would have had him speak. And, and he's still the most loved man ever to have walked the face of the earth. Yes. Satan believes he's real, and we should too. But, this thing with the election, it will come and go, and it's not really going to matter whether, we thought it should have gone another way. God is still in control, and we will have to submit to the authority of this nation or move to another one. And, for those that complain about this nation, I want to give them a one-way ticket to wherever they think is better. And just a one-way ticket. You can just go and, find a better place and stay in it. We don't have to have you here. But, of course, we know that there is no better place this side of heaven than right here in the good old United States. And that is why we are going to depend on you to get out and do your rightful godly duty. It is a godly duty, I do believe. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Election Selection 2016 is on board for tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'm in battle for his cause.
To take, and so we understand why she's crying at the foot of the bed. We get that. We've been there.
That's the part us husbands don't get.
Right, exactly. But when our son starts bouncing the basketball off the china cabinet
in our culture today, instead there's this in movies and TV shows and sports to bring back this great conversation with Dana Gresh, where she looks at practical ways that you can challenge your tween and teen boys, give them some rails to run on, and help them grow up to be the men God created them to be. If you didn't hear our conversation last time, I often say this, get the CD or the download or get the smartphone app so you can listen that way. And contact us about Dana's book, 6 Ways to Keep the Good in Your Boy, guiding your son from his tweens to his teens. And I don't think the content will disappoint you.
Well, I'd agree, Jim. And the app, the book, the CD, all available and more at focusonthefamily.com/radio. Call if you'd like. Our number is 800, the letter A, and the word family. And now here's part 2 of our conversation with Dana Gresh on today's Focus on the Family.
Dana, when you look at it, think of the 12, 13-year-old that the mom already sees as kind of off the good and true path.